Hey there, I'm Blue Chair. Let's talk about something interesting. Now, we all know that across the world there are plenty of minority cultures and groups that exist in their host countries, whether it's Middle Easterners in Michigan to Italians in Brazil. Lots of different ethnic groups, religions, and cultural minorities exist in places that you may not expect to find them. Today's topic is North Koreans living in Japan. You may be asking, wait, what? Why? And to be honest, I was asking myself the same thing. This all goes back to a different time, when the Japanese Empire existed in full, not the same Japan we see now. Japan went through a major change after the 1853 voyage of Commodore Matthew Perry, not Chandler from Friends. I mean, who's even going to get that reference in 2023? But anyway, this dude came from the US to open up Japan to the world. They needed a stopping point between the US owned territory and China for tea trade. At that time period, Japan was a shogunate, or ruled by a military dictatorship. They called this time the Edo Period. It was a time of peace, but also isolation. Their military was made up of samurai, and their firearms were more closely related to what was used in the 1500s rather than the 1800s. Seeing this huge American battleship show up on the shores freaked the people the fuck out.
Hey, you gonna open up the country or what? Jeez, Japanese folks are so stubborn. I'm seriously tired of waiting.
You're so pushy. We have our reasons, you know.
Yeah, like whatever. You forced me to use my secret weapon.
A weapon?
You see, the emperor still existed, but he was totally powerless. The shogun was ready to fight, but the emperor said, no way. Let's open up and let's modernize like the West. The shogun said a polite no and everything was fine. No, I'm kidding. Japan descended into a civil war between the supporters of the emperor and supporters of the shogun. Pretty much, the emperor won the war in the 1860s and Japan became westernized. This means railroads, telegraphs, modern firearms, and military doctrine. The shogun got booted out and the emperor was here to stay. Well, for another 80 years or so. But what does this have to do with North Koreans? Listen, we get there when we get there. In 1894, Japan invaded China, which, surprise, surprise, was already on its last knees, since they too had isolated themselves and the West was none too happy about that. After the war in 1895, Japan got a bunch of territory from the Chinese, including, the Korean peninsula. Well, sorta. China lost Korea, and Korea fell under Japanese protection. Eventually, the Japanese and Koreans signed a treaty that annexed Korea. During the technical 35-year-long occupation of Korea, 1910 to 1945, many Koreans migrated to Japan. It wasn't until the 30s and 40s during the Second Sino-Japanese War, as well as the Second World War, when tons of Koreans came to Japan. Well, coming over sounds too nice. In reality, they were forced to go to Japan to serve as workers, prostitutes, called comfort women, and all sorts of unsavory things. Nice one, Japan. That'll totally not have long-lasting consequences. Anywho, after Japan got vibe checked twice by America, the empire fell. Bye-bye, Imperial Japan. Say hello, anime cat girls. The Koreans remaining in Japan kind of felt isolated and wanted to keep up their culture, but Japan has a tendency to not be super inclusive. While this isn't necessarily true for the whole country, and certainly not true for many Japanese, there are groups that are prone to discriminating against anything or anyone that isn't Japanese. After World War II, the issue of a new free Korea began. The Soviets and Communist China supported a new communist government in Korea, while the Americans and their allies wanted a democratic Korea. Oh boy, it's getting chilly. I think we're heading into the Cold War. Okay, fine. But for real, this conflict blew up into the Korean War with Kim Il-sung leading the charge for communism in the North, while the Democratic Southerners were being supported by the U.S. Long story short, the fact that a North Korea and South Korea exist today can show you it didn't really work out for either side. While the Koreans of Japan had lived there for so long, they weren't necessarily allied to either Korea, but the North saw this as a chance to gain more international supporters. Good old Kim Il-sung supported lots of Koreans in Japan, or the Zainichi, and tried to sway them over to his side. Turns out it worked, and still works, since now these Koreans have their own communities where they learn about Korean history from the North's perspective. They call themselves Chongryon, and it's kind of what I would call as wacky ass. They've been in Japan for generations, but still identify as North Korean, and even some recent generations don't have Japanese citizenship. Japanese discrimination towards these North Koreans can get pretty bad at times, with people holding protests, kids being bullied, and even some have been assaulted. Many of these Zainichi attend North Korean schools in the Chongryon communities. These students learn about North Korea and believe it is a paradise just like North Korean propaganda says. They have posters and portraits of Kim Il-sung in their schools and speak Korean at school. At home, a lot of these families speak both Japanese and Korean, eat Japanese food, and are involved in Japanese pop culture. This is all to say that while they are discriminated against, they are Japanese in some aspects and Korean in others, especially their ethnicity. They share both cultures, even if many believe in North Korea and support their government. It's a strange thing, but they're just people with a unique culture at the end of the day. Enrollment in these schools has been slowly decreasing over the years, which may be good to have less supporters of North Korea, but at the same time, it is a lowering number of people who can truly connect to their culture. They aren't there to overthrow any governments or start revolutions. Rather, they just want to preserve an idea of their culture that's projected through a North Korean lens. Thanks for watching. Catch you later, and I'll see you next time on the Blue Chair.